Joining us now from NCBA's Washington, D.C. office is Kent Bacus, Director of International Trade and Market Access. Hi, Kent.
Happy to be here.
So we just shared some of the recent record-setting export numbers. Is there room for even more growth, Kent?
I think we are responding to strong global demand for U.S. beef. This has been great news for the cattle market. Now we have more people worldwide competing for U.S. beef, and that is really improving our bottom line. When you look at overall exports, they're accounting for roughly $320 per head. We could see that number continue to rise as our exports grow, especially in the Asian market.
The Trump administration announced a new USMCA-Canada trade agreement. How does this differ from NAFTA, and what are the benefits to beef producers?
Well, fortunately for us, the USMCA, or the US-Mexico-Canada agreement, formerly known as NAFTA, it doesn't really change a lot for U.S. beef and cattle trade. For us, that's good news because it's really hard to improve on duty-free, unrestricted access into both Canada and Mexico. So we're excited to see that Secretary Perdue and President Trump kept their promise to do no harm when it comes to agriculture, and we're going to continue to enjoy the same great terms under the USMCA that we did under NAFTA.
And President Trump also signed a revised version of the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement recently. Are there any changes that will specifically benefit the beef industry?
Well, just like the USMCA or the former NAFTA agreement, there weren't a lot of changes that needed to be made under the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement when it comes to beef. We were already enjoying an 8% tariff rate advantage over our leading competitors, the Australians, in that market. We've essentially pushed them out. Keep in mind, before the Korea trade agreement, we had a 40% tariff on our product. We will see that tariff phase all the way down to zero in the next few years. Because of that, our exports to Korea have already doubled. We're going to see them continue to rise, and Korea is a $1 billion market. That is a tremendous advantage for us, and we've come a long way in the last 10 years.
So we still hear talk about tariffs and trade wars, especially as it relates to China. What's the latest on this topic, and should beef producers be concerned?
Well, unfortunately, China has chosen to target U.S. beef for retaliatory tariffs. So we are a target there. We're also a target by the Canadians in response to the steel and aluminum tariffs. But you got to keep in mind, this is part of a longer-term objective to try to get those markets to really work with the United States. I think we'll see some improvements when it comes to Canada. With China, this could be a bigger fight that's drawn out for a while. There are some major systemic changes that their state-run economy needs to make, and President Trump is committed to working with them to try to address that. This is about our long-term interest. And keep in mind, we only lost about $30 million in sales in China. But if we can make improvements and tear down some of those barriers, like the restriction on hormones and beta agonists, and some of the other restrictions that China currently places on us in addition to the tariff, we could see that market develop into a $4 billion market. And that is something that we want to see happen. So we support the president in taking this strong, aggressive tactics towards China, and we're hopeful that they'll be successful in the long run.
So as we all know, the midterm elections are next week. What message do you have for U.S. beef producers about why they need to get out and vote?
If we've learned anything in the last few years, it's that we have to stay engaged. It's important that we elect people who come here to Washington to represent us, to speak up for us, and to advocate for our future. We need people who not only support trade, but who'll stand up and fight for it. Those are the kind of people we need here in Washington. And the only way we're going to make sure that they're here is to get out and support them. So I encourage everyone to get out and vote early, and continue to support the pro-trade, pro-ag agendas that we desperately need in our industry.
Thanks so much for your time today, Kent. You can help NCBA fight for common sense federal policies and against efforts that threaten the future of our beef cattle industry by joining me as a member of NCBA. When you join, you'll receive the members-only Beltway Beef newsletter, a weekly update straight from Washington, D.C. This will help you stay up to date on the latest key policy initiatives that will impact your business. It's easy to become a member. Just call 1-866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org.